Composing your first orchestral work. In this series, we're looking at orchestration, chords, voice leading, and balance. My name is Barney. I'm a classical composer and founder and director of Barney Music. I will be presenting my first orchestral work, Help Us on the Way for Orchestra, and I'm happy to announce that the first movement, A Safe Home, is now available for purchase. We're on page 45 of A Safe Home, the very last measure. How you orchestrate the very last measure of your piece or your movement is very pivotal because that's the sound that's going to remain in the hall. So you may need to spend several weeks, of course not, 6 hours every day, but quite some time making sure that it's perfect. Let's look at the woodwinds. We have the bassoons on the bass, very standard in octaves, so it gives more amplitude to the chord. Let's look at the flutes. On the highest notes of the chord. Oboes. Notice that the oboe 1 is doubling the flute 2, or at the unison. Clarinets here, there's a hiccup, of course, because they're transposing instruments. They're in B flat in this case. However, you'll notice that the key signature is flat, while the non-transposing instruments are in sharp key. So what does this mean? It means instead of thinking down a second, which is going to keep you in a flat key, despite the fact that we're in a sharp key, you will need to use the soprano clef. Okay, so the notes for the clarinets are mi dièse and la dièse. Okay, so those are all the woodwinds together. And with the bassoons, so very clearly there's a large distance between the upper bassoon and the lowest clarinet. Almost 2 octaves. So you'll definitely want to fill in that gap somewhere else in your orchestration. Now let's look over at the strings. Let's look at the lower strings. So usually we have double basses in cellos and octaves. In this case, they're at the unison. Likely it's because I didn't want the double basses to be too low. This is a very quick tempo. And the double basses will speak better in a more medium register. However, I still have octaves, this time between the violas and the double bass / cello. You'll want to have octaves for your bass, whatever your bass instruments are, because it just gives more resonance to the chord. It gives a wider sound. It can feel kind of choked. So be careful if everyone's just at the unison for the bass instruments. Let's look at the upper strings. We have the violins up here, and notice that they are basically doubling the flutes. And the violin twos are basically doubling the clarinets. So this is very common in your orchestration, is that you're going to have the violin ones paired with the flutes, and then the violin twos paired with the oboes or the clarinets. I will see you in episode 2, in which we'll look at the brass and percussion for this chord. Have a great day.